Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you know, in Japan, GLEAT had their latest event, Lidet UWF version 4. Now, this is not your typical wrestling match, it's more of a mixture of wrestling and MMA all together. And I'll explain more a bit about that. But we also have AEW Dynamite. As you know, this is their go home show before this coming Sunday's Dynasty. However, a lot of things could happen until then. As you know, Pac challenges for the Continental Championship against the Rainmaker Kaguchika Okada, the Bucks versus FTR, Thunder Rosa versus um, Tony Storm for the AEW Women's title. So we got plenty of other matches, but I think one we're gonna see is, of course, is the feud between both Strickland and Samoa Joe. So we're gonna see how that's gonna roll up. But first things first, as you know, I have not finished with the collective that took place during WrestleMania week. We're going to be reviewing DDT Goes to Philadelphia. We have some very interesting, fun matches, definitely. But we do have one title match, which is the DDT Universal title, held by Mao, taking on Space Jesus, Billy Starks. Then, of course, we have some news updates to tell you what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including some interesting developments that's been happening in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome, everybody, to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world of pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics like the promotions themselves, the wrestlers, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something happens in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also do the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool features on this channel as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have set aside, I believe it's time for me to shut up and get this show on the road with our very first review, DDT Goes Philadelphia. Okay, DDT Goes to Philadelphia. Now, this is one of the events that took place on April 4th during the collective during WrestleMania week. As you guys know, GCW and DDT Pro Wrestling has a working relationship. We have seen many talent make their way to GCW. Even last year, they did the same thing too, where they had DDT Goes Hollywood and all this other stuff. Now, our very first match, we have a tag team match. We have Shota. He teams up with the bounty hunter Brian Keefe. They take on CCK, consistent of Chris Brooks and Kid Lycos. But of course, immediately once the bell rung, CCK immediately made a beeline against their opponents, and that's exactly what was going on. Now, excuse me. So basically, the idea of this match, Basically, it was a just an interesting one. No storyline, nothing too significant. But this match ended with Ken Lycos applying a brainbuster onto Shota, giving him the win. Now, our next match, we have Andrew Everett taking on, what's his name? Tetsuya Endo. I think this was a pretty good match because Endo, as you know, he was one of the big stars in DDT Pro Wrestling. Many people um, know about him and his rivalry with Takeshita and all this other stuff. But it was a pretty good match. However, I was too biased to see how this was going to get. Andrew Everett is a fantastic wrestler, but towards the end, it was of course Endo who picked up the win with when he applied the shooting star press, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, before the start of the next match, we just saw, of course, Dan, the dad who showed up. Now, the real question here's what was going on according to the commentators. He's not scheduled to be there. Well, Dan, the dad told MLJ, yes, you're damn right. I'm not scheduled to be here. But however, I've been trying to get in any of the other shows. I talked to Progress Wrestling, nothing. I talked to my boy Joey Janela, nothing. So basically, he thought maybe he can just make a statement and see who will step up. Well, to our surprise, the person who stepped up, or should I say, a very animated person, showed up. Chitan. That's right, Chitan showed up. I mean, it was a pretty much of a bit wacky. But one thing it was funny is Chitan actually spilled Danhausen's coffee mug onto the floor. Think it's funny, but one thing is, do not mess with Dan the Dad's coffee mug because he's like the Incredible Hulk, and that is something you don't want to have. But of course, Shintan learned the hard way. But the one thing was interesting is Dan the Dad decided to go great lengths to hurt Chitan, but he brought in, of course, a door. But unfortunately, that backfired when, of course, Chitan applied a superplex onto him through the door to pick up the win. But as soon as this match was over, Chris Brooks, who hates Chitan, attacked him. And then, of course, Dan the Dan joined in on the little party. But all of his son, Yoshihiko, showed up and saved the day. However, Yoshihiko is, of course, there because he was scheduled to be a match to take on, of course, Kazuki Hirata. It's the guy who goes, Tokyo! And dances in the ring. So, yes, he was there too. Now, you would think this match, I mean, I know these two guys, both Yoshihiko and Hirata, have gone back and forth on many occasions. If it's in singles competition or championship match, whatever. That's how it is. But it was, of course, Yoshihiko with the sunset flip onto him and picked up the win. Now, our next match is for the DDT Universal Championship in a no rules match. We have Space Jesus Billy Starks taking on Mao. Now, of course, all kinds of plunders and weapons were allowed. I mean, tables, ladders, chairs, doors, whatever they would use to try to kill each other would have been suffice. I mean, yes, I mean, many people would have thought the same thing. But however, this match took a very interesting turn towards the end. Apparently, there was a double pinfall. Mao pinned Billy Starks, but Mao's shoulders were also pinned. So there was a bit of a dilemma. So people were like trying to understand what the hell is going on. So the referee decided, you know what? Let's do this. Rock, paper, scissors. So I'm like, okay. I mean, that would work. I mean, that is how they do things in Japan in some promotions. But yes, so rock paper scissors. However, the first time it was both of them went paper. Second time rock, and then third time, well, Mao did scissors. Well, Billy Starks did paper. So that's one way how to end the match. So real fun. Now our next match we have tag team match, and we got Takeshi Masada. He teams up with Nick Wayne to take on Damnation TA, consisting of Kanon and Daisuke Sasaki. Now, of course, Damnation TA are the most villainous faction ever in DDT. And of course, they're going to attack both Masada and Nick once the bell rings because that's what they do. They're not here to play games, they're not here to have fun, they're just here to beat the crap out of their opponents and win. That's the whole point. But however, you would think that somehow, because Nick Wayne is a much bigger star, would have picked up the win. But nope, that was not the case. However, there was an amazing combination move where, of course, Kanon had um, to get Masada right in a torture rack type position, allowing for Sasaki to apply an elbow onto him. And then after that, it was over. But Kanon was the one who picked up the win when, of course, um, pinning Masada. And that's how it ends. Now, our main event, this is a very interesting one. So, no, never mind. We do have another interesting match. We have former friends who are now enemies. We have Shuma Katsumata taking on Konosuke Takeshita. Now, those who know this, before Takeshita ever went to AEW, he used to be part of a faction known as 37 Kamina, along with Yuki Ueno, Maho, and Toi Kojima. Now, when Takeshita left, he was still associated with them, but ever since he took the side of Don Callis, he feels that he doesn't need them. The friendship has always been like, how to say, the one thing that will hold them back. Even though Takeshita tried to tell Yuki Ueno to follow his path, but he refuses. But however, he faces against Shuna Katsumata, who in fact was his tag partner. But now Katsumata is the current leader because Takeshita was the previous leader. Now you would think that Katsumata will try to pick up the win. I mean, this guy has been in death matches in much of his career, would have been the X factor, but unfortunately that was not the case. Now we know Takeshita is very talented, very good in the ring, but he unfortunately applied a Boston Crab to pick up the win. And just like that, it was over. But as soon as the match was over, Takeshita reached out his hand to shake him, but Katsumata was not having it, so he just slapped it off his face. So basically, that's how things are between those two. Now, our main event, we have Speedball, Mike Bailey versus Yuki Ueno. I thought this match was pretty good. Now, you would think that Mike Bailey, who is one of the most interesting wrestlers, would have been the most obvious choice to pick up the win. But not to mention, he would have defeated Yuki Ueno since he is the current open weight champion. And I thought that would have been the simple case. But no. I mean, the match was going crazy back and forth. But it was Yuki Ueno with the WR, of course, to pick up the win. And just like that, it was over. So I think that's pretty much it with our latest with this particular show with DDT at the Collective. Let me give you guys a special announcement that I think many of you guys are going to find interesting. Hey guys, if you want to see more or hear more of the wrestling content from me, go check out my podcast, DWZ Podcast with J Rod. So on this, I just did a brand new episode. If you guys are interested, you should check it out. The topics of the day of this particular episode on my podcast is, of course, talking about the latest promotion with Rossy Ogawa's Mighty Gold. Talked about who's involved, their invasion towards, Noah. What's the plans? Who's financing? The whole shebang. So you guys will be interesting to hear more. We also just talk more about Actwres girls with the situation, what happened when we saw 6 of their roster members made the most abruptly departure from the promotion to join Actwres girls. But however, we also discuss what is the state and future of the promotion since this happened. But you probably will hear more of that if you're interested. We even talk about the all-in footage and, of course, certain things because I rant out too much when it comes to stupid people. So if you guys want to hear that, you should check it out. But finally, on this particular episode, we talk about the newer members of the Cosmic Angels. We're talking about Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurata, who made their cases that want to join the Cosmic Angels, and you'll be hearing more things of my thoughts towards both of them. What do I think of them? What's going to happen with them now with them inside Cosmic Angels? Who knows what's going to be? So you should check it out. So the name of the podcast is called DWZ Podcast with J-Rod. You can find me on Spotify and various other locations. So check it out. So now let's return to our next review, and I believe we're doing, of course, GLEAT with Lidet UWF version 4. Okay, GLEAT, Lidet UWF version 4. Now, this is not your typical wrestling show. This is a mixture of of wrestling and MMA in some capacity. Now, however, there are certain rules. I'm kind of bit more lost on the rules, but basically, it's either knockout, submission, or pinfall, however you want to put it. Our first match, we have Yutaka Kobayashi taking on Tetsuya Izushi. Now, I don't know who this Kobayashi is. I never seen him, but Izushi, I have seen him many times involved in UWF rules match. I mean, he has picked up very, very well in these type of matches. He has won matches here and there, but of course, in the back of my head, I would have assumed that either um, Kobayashi or Izushi would have won. But for some odd reason, this match ended in a time limit draw after 15 minutes. So this is not like the MMA where you made a unanimous rule. So basically, that does not apply here. So it's either went by knockout, submission, or pinfall. So it's completely different, like an MMA or boxing or kickboxing, however you guys want to see it. But yes. Now our next match, we have tag team action. We have Hideki Sakin, um, Takatoshi Matsumoto. They take on the members of BGI, consistent of Kotaro Suzuki and Hartley Jackson. Um, Interesting matchup, but the one thing that was really impressing is, of course, Hartley Jackson when he takes on Matsumoto. But the way he picked up the win is when he applied a power bomb onto Matsumoto. But however, Matsumoto was not like moving that much. Apparently, his body has given out. The referee made the choice to stop the match, and the match goes to, of course, Suzuki and Jackson of BGI. So that's how it ends. Now, our next match, we have the ladies taking. We have Yuta Suzuki versus Maya Fukuda. Now, these two ladies, I have seen them go wrestle each other back and forth when it comes to the UWF rules match. Now, for the record, I want to point this out. Maya Fukuda is not an official wrestler, but she does have a background in karate. We know that because ever since she was recruited to join the promotion, it would make sense. She only will get involved in matches involving UWF rules. That's always been the case, and I thought it was interesting. However, Yuta has, to be honest with you, for me, watching her, who's never been in these type of matches, has grown significantly. She did one match against Fukuda, but however, that does not apply for this particular day because Fukuda applied a right high kick, and just like that, she was out when the 10 count by KO, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, our next match, we have another tag team match. We have Takuya Wada teaming up with Daisuke Nakamura, taking on Soma Watanabe and Dan Tamura. I have seen Wada before in Ganbare Pro many times. I don't know about this guy Nakamura, but it was very interesting. Oh yeah, and Dan Tamura, you may know him from All Japan Pro Wrestling, the former junior heavyweight champion. I was pretty sure that this match was going to be interesting, but I wasn't too entirely optimistic how this was going to end. Apparently, it ended with a 20-minute time limit draw, so that's the second one so far. I mean, I would have liked to see a winner, but yeah. Now, this match ended in 46 seconds flat. We have Masakatsu Funaki taking on Yu Izuki. This match ended after a knee strike in 46 seconds. Yes, that's like the fastest timing, so it would make sense. Our next match, we have, of course, Kendo Kazuri. He teams up with the King, Murder Grandpa himself, Minoru Suzuki, to take on Kaz Hayashi and Yoshiaki Fuminori. However, there was a moment where, of course, Kendo took Fuminori Fujiwara outside the venue and just beat the crap out of him. But it was, of course, Minoru Suzuki with a single leg grab that put him away. So that's how it ended right there. Now, our main event, we have Hikaru Sato taking on Takanori Ito. Now, Takanori Ito, I have seen him involved in various UWF rules match. He is the first ever Lidet UWF rules champion. I don't know who's the current champion, but it played out pretty well. But one thing that was crazy is how this match ended is when, of course, Ito applied a mounted palm strike, like kind of like slapping, but just like that, it was completely over. Ref made the decision to stop this match, and the match went straight to Takanori Ito. So yeah, so that's how it happened on this particular show. There will be events like these here and there, but not all the time. So if you guys are interested in this video, go on this event, check it out on their YouTube channel. So go check it out. And I think that's pretty much it with this. I believe it's time for our last and final review, and that is AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite. As I said earlier, this is the go home show before this weekend's Dynasty. So a lot of things could happen until then. So let's start from finish. Now, Jon Moxley, as you know, is the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. He comes out about, of course, telling the blood, sweat, and tears that he did to get to where he's at right now and also obtain the one belt that many people say is the biggest prize in all of the world of pro wrestling. But he also calls out Don Callis, who, of course, he feels that they targeted his closest friend and teammate Brian Danielson, which of course, he even put himself as a target. But next week he said that he will want to challenge Powerhouse Hobbs to send a direct message. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, before our next of the mixed tag match, Mercedes Moné had a hard message to whoever attacked her last week when Lights Out. Now, she did state it. There is one person who could pull that off, and that is none other than the current TBS champion, Julie Hart, or Mercedes Moné. Who knows how things were going to go? Now, as soon as the match was about to start, Adam Copeland already made his way to the ring. But however, Willow Nightingale once again was attacked, but this time no one knows who did it. And of course, Julia Hart and Brody King showed up. And apparently this entire time it was a bit of a 2-on-1 scenario because, of course, Julia Hart cannot get herself involved in the match with Copeland. But, of course, Willow did show up in hopes that this would change. But it did not. Apparently, Julia Hart, once again with her dirty tactics, used a chain onto Willow Nightingale to pick up the win and put her in Heartless, but the ref did not see it and the match was called off. And then, of course, Mercedes Moné show up because she could not stand seeing this, but this is far from over. But however, the real question does tell is this: who's going to walk out as the winner out of Dynasty to head to Double or Nothing? Well, will it be Willow Nightingale or will Julia Hart retain the belt? We will see. But we will see Copeland and Brody King tango this coming weekend in a 6-man tag match. So, can't wait to see that happen. Now, during an interview with Renee Paquette, she'd spoken to Samoa Joe. She questioned about Swerve. Now, he does not deny that Swerve is talented. But, however, when it comes to, of course, all the things that he does, he declared him that he's nothing but a punching bag. But the most important things when it comes to titles that he has been facing, he chokes on it. Basically, he chokes. So he called him a choker. And of course, that's what he believes because every opportunity he gets, he chokes, not winning the belt. But Swerve does actually respond. We'll get to that in a bit. Now, our next match, we have the Elite, consisting of the Bucks and Okada, taking on Daniel Garcia, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Pac. So, as you know, Pac will challenge Kazuchika Okada for the AEW Continental Crown at Dynasty. So, this is a bit of a preview match. However, much of the beating in this particular match went up to Daniel Garcia, and Garcia ended up being in, of course, being a part of the Rainmaker, and that was pretty much what happened. However, the the Bucks decided to punish more Garcia with the EVP trigger. Then they tried to use a ladder to break him. But however, Pac showed up with a weapon to scare them off, and that's it. They run off. But however, Kazuchika Okada better be prepared for this coming Sunday against Pac, and we will see how that rolls up. Now, Chris Jericho, as you know, has been acting like a mentor towards Hook. Now, Hook, we know he is the kind of person who you don't know what to make of him, but Taz often talks about his own son, so he tries to be a bit of a mediator. However, Hook seems like he's not interested in learning from him. And then, of course, Jericho attacked Taz, and Hook did not like that. Even though Taz is a tough SOB, he knows for a fact that Hook will definitely get revenge. Even though we know Taz will root his son, but he knows that he doesn't need it that much. So we'll see what happens. Now, as you know, we saw the interview with Samoa Joe. Swerve had some things to say and all this. I'm sure he does not appreciate what Samoa Joe thinks of him. We know that Swerve believes that he is the guy who deserves to be the world champion, which is obvious. But he did say he had some things to say to him at the end of the program. Our next match, we have Mariah May versus Deonna Purrazzo. Now, this whole feud has continued on. Of course, Toni Storm was going to be there to watch over her protege and all this and that. But it was Deonna Purrazzo who picked up the win by a pinfall. But as soon as that match ended, Toni Storm viciously attacked Deonna Purrazzo. And then Thunder Rosa comes up. Oh my God, she clobbered Luther, that little moron. And then, of course, she got her hands on Toni Storm, that put lipstick all over her face to teach her a lesson after what she did to her last week. So that's going to be, of course, a very interesting thing. Now, Renee Paquette had a little chit-chat with Bullet Club Gold, the Bang Bang Gang. Of course, it turns out that this was a ploy by them towards the Acclaim and, of course, Daddy Ass. So apparently they have a date with Destiny. They build up a Destiny with them on Dynasty. And that is, they will put the ROH 6-man tag team titles on the line if the Acclaim and Daddy Ass put the AEW World Trios title on the line, and it becomes a winner takes all. So, what does the Acclaim and Daddy Ass says? Well, they accept. But first things first, they will have a little warm-up between the Ass Boys and the Acclaim. I believe that's going to happen in Collision. So, we will see what happens until then. Now, our next match, we have the Orange Cassidy take on Shane Taylor. Now, we know Orange Cassidy has not been himself with, of course, none of his friends are there. Trent turned his back on him. Chuck, well, we know he's injured, but we just don't know where this is leading up to. But he took a hell of a beating between Shane Taylor and, of course, the other pencil-like morons from Shane Taylor Promotions and the outside. But it took only maybe a few orange punches to get it right in order to put down Shane Taylor and picked up the win. However, Anthony effing Ogogo decided to get involved and hit him in the rib. Now, Christopher Daniels, Matt Sydal tried to show up and help him out, but Trent Beretta prevented him, so they can see. But, of course, Shane Taylor Promotions continued the beat down on Orange Cassidy. So this is far from over with Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta. Now, our next match, we have Will Ospreay and Claudio Castagnoli. Now, you could say this is a somewhat of a dream match because you would never thought this match was going to be good. I think this was an excellent match. I thought it was really, really, really fun. And not to mention every counter, every move that they try to do. I thought it was fantastic from start to finish. But one thing that also made clear for me just by watching this, there was a moment in the commentary section. Don Callis feels that Claudio Castagnoli should just ditch the BCC and join the Don Callis family because he feels like, look, I got a guy from the UK, I got a guy from Australia, I got a guy from Japan. I build up my own version of the United Nations. But the real question that, of course, Tony Schiavone says, well, you just got to find a way to, pull him in. So, which is obvious. We don't know. But however, it was Ospreay who picked up the win with the hidden blade as always, and then it was over. But however, Takeshita, Fletcher, and Hobbs attacked Claudio, and then of course Moxley showed up to send a direct message. But we will see next week Hobbs and Mox duke it out. Then of course Swerve comes out to do a promo, and then he calls out Joe. Now security were trying to prevent Joe from getting involved with Swerve, but Swerve took out the security guards because this is now personal. But the real question was this a trap by Swerve? Because we know Joe knows how to push his buttons, and that's exactly what happened. And then of course, Samoa Joe put him in a muscle buster, and just like that, it's over. But the question does tell: can Samoa Joe retain the belt, or Swerve will finally fulfill his destiny to become the AEW World Champion? We will see until Dynasty. So until then, let's just wait and see. So we'll look at this more on Rampage and Collision this coming Friday and Saturday. But as of right now, let's end things right here with all the reviews and move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. So let's get started with updates with the promotions on their upcoming events. Let's begin with Prestige Wrestling with two events that they have announced. Now, as their event for next month on May 16th, Alive or Just Breeding, they announced that Alpha Zoe will be in action to take on Jordan Cruz. Now, Jordan Cruz is a local wrestler here in my hometown of San Diego. I can't wait to see how that rolls up. However, 2 months later after that, in July, Prestige Wrestling announced for the Combat Clash PDX event on the 12th of July, they just announced he's very nice and very evil. Danhausen will be making his appearance. So, yes. Now, moving on. MLW announced for the Azteca Lucha event on May 11th, Magnus will be involved. So, we'll see more of him. Now, West Coast Pro announced for the Coast event on May 17th, Alpha Zoe will be in action to take on Adam Priest. Now, is that one time in a year again, as you know, with Kenta Kobashi with his show, Fortune Dream, that happens once a year. They just announced a tag match that will take place on the 12th of June. Team 200 kilograms, consisting of Yu and Chihiro Hashimoto. They take on Meiko Satomura and Takumi Iroha. Now, I will get into Satomura in a bit later on the news updates. Now, those who know this or not, Josh Barnett is bringing Bloodsport Bushido to Japan, and this will take place on June the 26th. However, matches have been announced for this particular day, and here are the full, I think this is the full card, I'm sure, but here's who we have. We have Konami taking on Maya Fukuda. Rampage Jackson takes on Hideki Sakine. Kazushi Sakuraba takes on Santino Morella. Eric Hammer versus Mike O'Hearn. Masakatsu Funaki takes on Davey Boy Smith Jr. Takuya Nomura takes on Todd Duffy. Hikaru Sato takes on Hideki Suzuki. Minoru Suzuki takes on Timothy Thatcher. And then finally, Josh Barnett versus Jon Moxley. I'm looking forward to this event. I just hear they're going to be a press conference release. I'm so excited for that. So we'll see where that leads us from here now. Now, let's move on to our next with developments. First things first, I want to say congratulations to Ruby Soho. Those who may or may not have been aware, when Dynamite went off their air, Ruby Soho did a little segment in the ring telling Angela Parker that she's pregnant. Yes, folks, this is legit. She really is pregnant. And yes, it is Angela Parker's child. So as you know, they're a real life couple, and they're in fact throwing this storyline within, and I think is a very interesting thing. I don't know what else they're going to throw in the storyline, because I wouldn't be surprised if they do air this. There's going to be moments where we're going to see Saraya not happy with this whole thing and all this and that. But yes, but we'll see. Now, anyway, moving on. Carlos La Voz Cabrera has been announced that now he is officially All Elite. He is now going to be as Spanish commentator in the AEW desk. Looking forward to that. Konami, as you know, I mentioned this before, is now officially returning to Stardom full time. However, she did reveal to Tokyo Sports that it was Io Sky who pushed her to make her return to Stardom full time, and I think it's a real good thing, because we know they know each other pretty well. Those who don't know, Konami used to be a member of Io Sky's faction, Queen's Quest, so there's a lot of connection with there. And don't forget, Konami is a disciple of Asuka, so there's the connection there. Now, Linda Hogan, those who know her, she is the ex-wife of Hulk Hogan. She went on the media talking about their daughter, Brooke Hogan, saying that she dumped the entire family because of Hulk Hogan's actions. I mean, look, we know there's been a lot of drama with the Hogan family. I mean, Nick, Linda, Hulk Hogan, but many people can often agree saying that maybe Brooke is the much decent and mature person out of everybody in that family. So who knows? But yes. Now, some of you may have heard on this particular. There's been talks about with Vince McMahon. Now, since his resignation, he's been in contact with both Cena and The Rock. Now, we don't know what is the significance. He's been in touch with them, but also there's been talks that Vince has been in touch with um, Donald Trump. Now, don't forget this. I want to put this clear. This has nothing to do with politics. This is what people were talking about. Now, we know that Vince and Trump are very good friends, and they've been recently been talking, but they decided not to talk about their legal issues that have been going on, so they kept that out of the conversation, according to someone who's close to Vince. But however, another person who was close to Vince doesn't know what the conversation is about. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump decided to help out Vince to start a new promotion, which is something that we've heard about from Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer about that. But who knows? Whatever the conversation was all about. Now, Momo Watanabe has been on the talk for a little bit by some certain fans. Apparently, this guy put this out on Twitter, or should I say, in the X account, talking about this stupid thing about Momo Watanabe. Apparently, this jerk off decides to say that Momo Watanabe is married and have a kid. But apparently, whoever this guy is, he's an Oscar Mayer wiener. This guy told him that what you're telling is a false narrative. So he tells him that the guy she was with is her father, and the child that they were with is in fact the son of Fuka. Yes, the same Fuka who's going to be helping out Rossy Ogawa's new promotion. Momo's family and Fuka's family are very close friends. As you guys know, Fuka has trained many wrestlers in Stardom, and that includes Momo. So I don't know why this jerk off went out of his mind to, of course, say something like this, that Momo is married. I mean, she would have already said it herself, but no, she did not. Now, as you all know, I mentioned Meiko Satomura, who will be participating in Fortune Dream. However, it was later foretold that Meiko asked permission to WWE if it was okay, and they gave her the green light. Now, as you all know, I mentioned this before during a previous news updates. Nikki Garcia, or as we know, Nikki Bella, said that she was close in calling Tony Khan about the possibility of course, joining AEW. But this is what I do. This is what Tony Khan said. I think many of you probably will be interested to hear. Let me pull it up. Yes. Tony Khan said this: if Nikki Garcia ever wanted to come to AEW, I would be very interested in that. I think the world of her. I have so much respect for both Nicole and Brie. They're like family to us because Brian is like the part of my family. that means Brie and Nicole are part of the family. So I have much respect for both of them. And that if Nikki is interested in coming to AEW, we would love to have her here at any time. So he's very open with the idea of having Nikki being there. Hopefully, Nikki can, you know, consider that. Now, recently, as you know, with at-risk girls, there's been a few things that have been announced with the departure of six of the wrestlers. This is what they announced for the following decision: the AWG Singles Championship match, the championship title will be now vacant. The last champion was Natsumi Sumikawa, so that's pretty much it. The tag team tournament will be postponed for the time being, and previously announced events will be held as scheduled. So certain events that they've been announced that will be participating. It will happen, but it will be, you know what I mean. Alex Windsor, if you guys know who she is the wife of Will Ospreay. She just announced on her social media that she already has a U.S. visa that will be good for the rest of the year. So if you guys are interested in booking her, or if you guys want to see her in whatever promotion you guys are in, tell your respective promotions from whatever region. Her email is alicewalker93@hotmail.com. So you should get in touch with them. So we'll see what happens until then. Uh, Matt Jackson was recently talked about Jack Perry, and this is what he had to say about that. So many feelings and thoughts came rushing back. Old wounds were reopened. We decided it was only fair to be transparent and honest with our fans. We needed to give them context on about why we feel we came up short at All in London. Our bodies were there in the ring, wrestling FTR and Wembley Stadium, but our minds were in the back with the scapegoat in the entire situation, Jack Perry. The three of us specifically were wrong that night, and I haven't gotten over that. So basically, there's a lot of things that happen. So basically, it looks more like there is the possibility we could see Jack Perry turn, but we'll see. Now, the last development here, I think many of you are going to find interesting. Now, if you guys remember, let me explain this. New Japan has announced that Yo will not be participating in the upcoming Best of the Super Juniors due to a shoulder injury that he obtained at Sakura Genesis. Now, of course, they did announce that there's going to be a replacement announced at another later date. However, many fans are speculating Mustafa Ali could be that replacement. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm referring to, let me talk. During the post-match comments, Mustafa Ali feels that why did nobody in New Japan Pro Wrestling invited him to the Best of Super Junior? He believes that he is the true Super Junior, the strongest junior. So we just don't know yet. Now, they did state it, they are going to make the replacement. We just don't know who will it be. So I'm sure we will get to that at some point. But as of right now, we just got to wait and see. I think that's pretty much it for what we got right now for our news updates. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we will do TNA and, of course, Ring of Honor. I haven't decided yet. I will want to continue with more of the collective and certain events I haven't seen just yet. But we'll just wait and see what happens until then. But for right now, we'll just leave things as it is and move on forward with it. Until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day.